The wind cut through the silence like a knife. Ethan Cole pulled his thick jacket closer as the frozen ground crunched under his boots. His breath fogged the inside of his visor, and he wiped it away with the back of his glove. The planet was nothing but ice and broken rock, a dead world that had swallowed his ship whole. He had been alone for 32 days, surviving on ration packs, and the hope that the rescue beacon he had set up might eventually reach someone. But today, something strange pulled him farther from his camp. A faint glimmer under the ice. A sound like metal straining. He followed it across jagged ridges until the frozen earth opened into a wide basin, and there it stood, half buried, ancient, and silent. The Stargate was massive. Even in ruin, its blackened ring dwarfed everything around it. Strange glyphs curved along its surface, each one faintly glowing blue as though something deep within the machine was trying to wake. Ethan stood frozen, not from the cold, but from the shock of it. Then he heard the sound. A click, soft but sharp, like a blade being drawn. "Step away from the gate," a voice said. It was not human. From behind the shattered pillars, a figure stepped forward. She was young, or at least she looked that way. Her skin was pale but shimmered with a faint, otherworldly light. Her eyes were a deep violet, sharp and alert, and a long weapon rested in her hands. The way she held it made Ethan stop in place. "I am not here to hurt you," Ethan said, raising his hands. "You are not allowed here," she said again. Her words were accented but clear. "The gate is forbidden." "Forbidden or broken?" Ethan asked, lowering his voice. "It looks dead to me." The girl's gaze flicked to the silent ring. Something passed across her face, a shadow of sadness. "It is not dead," she said finally. "It sleeps, and it must stay asleep. Leave now." Ethan studied her. She could not be older than 20 by human measure, but there was a weight in her tone that spoke of years, maybe centuries. He took a cautious step forward. "I cannot leave," he said. "My ship is gone. I am stuck here. And this gate, if it can work, maybe it can take me home." Her grip tightened on the weapon. For a moment, Ethan thought she might fire. Then she lowered it slightly. "My name is Arya," she said. "This gate was once a road for many. My people guarded it. We failed. Failed how? A war came. Whole worlds burned. The enemy used these gates to reach every star, every home. We shut them down, sealed them with our lives. This one is the last. If it opens, they may come again." Ethan stared at the glyphs, still glowing faintly like a dying heartbeat. "And yet," Arya said quietly, "sometimes I wonder if the stars miss us too." The words hung between them. The wind howled across the ice. That night, Ethan did not leave. Instead, he set up a small camp near the basin, though Arya kept her weapon close. She never seemed to sleep. Her eyes stayed on the gate, watching as if something unseen might crawl through at any moment. By the next day, the storm rolled in. Snow fell thick, hiding the sky. Ethan tried to keep warm, but the cold sank into his bones. It was Arya who approached him then. "You will not survive this weather," she said. "Come. There is shelter." She led him through winding ice tunnels into a cavern deep beneath the gate. There, Ethan saw signs of an old world. Walls carved with strange symbols. Pieces of armor and weapons frozen in crystal. And in the center, a pool of glowing water that steamed against the chill. "This is where my people stood," Arya said. "When the enemy came, we fought here. Many did not rise again." Ethan touched the carvings. They told a story. Armies of strange shapes, ships streaking across the sky. A great war fought through gates that tied worlds together. "You said the enemy," Ethan asked. "Who were they?" Arya's jaw tightened. "They called themselves the Vaynar. They were not like you or me. They were hunger made flesh. They consumed worlds. We sealed the gates to trap them, but it cost everything. And now—" Arya looked at him then, really looked. "Now only I remain." Ethan felt something twist in his chest. Alone for years, guarding a silent machine. No wonder she seemed carved from ice herself. "Let me help," he said. "You cannot. Try me." Her violet eyes met his. A storm was there, but also something else, something fragile. For a long moment, Arya said nothing. Only the soft crackle of ice, shifting in the cavern, filled the silence. Ethan waited, refusing to break eye contact. Finally, she lowered her weapon. "You truly wish to help?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan said. "I have no ship, no way off this world. Maybe this gate is dangerous, but maybe it is also hope." And I think you want it to wake as much as I do. Arya's lips pressed together. She looked away, as if ashamed that he had seen through her. The gate is broken, she admitted. The core that feeds it has gone dark. Without it, the ring will never open. Then we find a way to fix it, Ethan said simply. Her eyes snapped back to him. You speak as if it is so easy. The core is hidden deep in the ruins. Dangerous things prowl there. Things left behind when the war ended. Ethan gave a thin smile. Then it sounds like we should start walking. Arya tilted her head. She seemed both baffled and amused by his stubbornness. But she did not argue. Instead, she led him deeper into the cavern. The ruins were a maze of shattered halls and collapsed bridges, all carved into the glacier itself. Strange crystal veins ran along the walls, pulsing faintly like veins of light. The silence was heavy, but not empty. More than once, Ethan thought he heard movement in the shadows. It was only when they entered a wide chamber that the first creature showed itself. The beast dropped from the ceiling like a mass of living ice. Its body was jagged, spiked with crystal shards, and its eyes burned a cold blue. It let out a screech that rattled the air. Frostwraith, Arya hissed. Stay behind me. But Ethan did not. As the beast lunged, he grabbed a shard of broken crystal from the ground and swung with all his strength. The jagged edge cut across the creature's face, making it stumble back. Arya fired her weapon then, a burst of violet light that tore through the wraith's chest. It shrieked once, then shattered into pieces of ice that scattered across the floor. You are reckless, Arya said sharply, turning on him. You are welcome, Ethan replied, catching his breath. For the first time, he thought he saw her mouth twitch, almost a smile. Almost. They pressed deeper into the ruins. More wraiths came, lurking from the walls and ceiling, but together they cut through them. Ethan fought with whatever he could find, crystal shards, broken poles, even his own fists when he had no choice. Arya's weapon blazed again and again, her aim sharp and unyielding. At last, they reached a chamber unlike the others. A massive pedestal stood in the center, and on it rested a sphere of dark crystal. Faint energy pulsed inside, like lightning trapped within. The core, Arya whispered. Her voice was almost reverent. But before they could step closer, the ground shook. A rumble echoed through the cavern. From the shadows, another figure appeared, tall, armored, and not like the wraiths. It stood on two legs, its body plated with black metal that seemed fused with flesh. Its face was hidden behind a mask of bone, and its voice came out like grinding stone. You should not be here, it said. Ethan felt the weight of its gaze and knew, without question, that this was no remnant. This was something else. Who are you? Arya demanded, raising her weapon. The figure tilted its head. Guardian. Servant of the old war. Bound to this place until the stars forget. Arya stiffened. A Vaynar construct. The figure's voice was low. This core will not leave. The gate must remain sealed. Ethan stepped forward. If it stays sealed, everyone stays trapped. Worlds remain cut off. Civilizations die in silence. That is not peace. That is a graveyard. The construct's glowing eyes narrowed. Better a graveyard than a feast for the enemy. It raised its arm, and from its wrist unfolded a blade of crackling black energy. Arya took a step closer to Ethan. We fight together, she said softly. For once, Ethan muttered, gripping a shard of crystal like a sword. I am glad I am not alone. The chamber erupted in chaos. The construct moved like a storm, striking with its blade, shattering the floor with each blow. Arya's weapon blazed, but the energy scattered across the armor. Ethan dodged close, swinging his shard at the joints, trying to find weakness. Sparks flew. The construct roared. It was stronger, faster, and built to kill. But Ethan was human, and humans had a way of surviving what should kill them. When the construct lunged, Ethan dove forward, driving his shard into the glowing lines that pulsed across its chest. Arya seized the opening, firing a shot directly into the wound. The energy tore through, and the construct staggered, its voice breaking into static. You do not know what you wake, it growled, before collapsing in a heap of shattered armor. The chamber went silent again. Ethan pulled himself up, breathing hard. His hands shook from the fight. Arya knelt by the core, placing her hands on its surface. It still lives, she whispered. We can use it, but we must be careful. The enemy may still wait beyond the gate. Ethan looked at her, at the faint light reflecting in her violet eyes. "Then we take the risk," he said. "Because hope is worth it." For the first time, she smiled. A real smile. And in that moment, Ethan knew that this journey had only just begun. They carried the core together, its dark crystal glowing faintly, as if aware of their touch. The weight was not just physical. It felt alive, humming with quiet power. Ethan kept glancing at Arya as they moved through the ruins. Her face was calm, but her grip was tight, and he knew she feared something beyond the shadows. When they stepped out of the cavern, the frozen world greeted them with a new face. A storm had risen. Thick snow tore across the land, blinding and loud. The basin that held the Stargate was now hidden under white waves. "We must move fast," Arya said. "The core is like a beacon. Others will feel it." Ethan did not like the sound of that. Others? They were born of the war. Hunters. They were left to wander when the gates closed. They do not forget. He tightened his hold on the core. "Then let us make sure they do not catch us." The journey back was a battle against the storm. The wind screamed, pushing them off balance. Ice cracked underfoot. More than once, Ethan slipped, almost sending the core sliding into darkness. Arya stayed close, steadying him with one hand while the other held her weapon ready. Halfway to the gate, the hunters came. They moved like shadows, fast and silent. Shapes darted in and out of the snow, tall and lean with long limbs and glowing red eyes. The first leapt at Ethan, but Arya's shot dropped at midair. Another came from the side, clawed hands reaching for the core. Ethan swung hard, the heavy core smashing into the creature's head. It crumpled with a hiss. "They will not stop," Arya shouted over the wind. "Then we keep moving." They ran. Snow sprayed behind them as the hunters followed, their shrieks echoing like broken metal. For every one they struck down, another came. The storm turned the chase into a blur of white and shadow. At last, the Stargate rose before them, half buried in the storm. The glowing symbols seemed brighter now, as if sensing the core's return. "Place it here," Arya said, guiding Ethan to a broken pedestal near the ring. Together they locked the core into its cradle. The moment it touched, the ground shook. The glyphs across the gate flared, sending lines of light rippling around the basin. But the hunters were not done. 3 of them broke through the storm, larger than the rest, armored in jagged plates of ice. "Keep them away," Arya said. "The core needs time." She moved like a dancer, firing shot after shot. Ethan grabbed a fallen spear from the snow and stood his ground. The hunters came fast, but he met them with pure will. One clawed his arm, another slammed into his side, but he did not drop. And then, the gate answered. A sound like thunder rolled across the frozen land. The ring came alive, spinning with light. A deep hum filled the air as the symbols burned bright, cutting through the storm. The hunters froze, hissing, and for the first time, Ethan thought he saw fear in their eyes. One by one, they turned and fled into the storm. Breathing hard, Ethan looked at the gate. Its center now shimmered with a pool of blue light, like a window waiting to open. Arya lowered her weapon and stared. Her face was unreadable, caught between awe and sorrow. "It remembers," she whispered. "The stars still remember." Ethan stepped closer. "Then we can go?" "Not yet," she said. "The gate needs a key, something to guide it. And there is more you must know." Before he could ask, a sound reached them, soft, but heavy with meaning. Footsteps. Out of the storm came a figure, not hunter, not wraith. It was tall, robed, and carried a staff topped with a shard of glowing stone. Its face was hidden under a mask of silver. "Who was that?" Ethan asked. Arya's voice was tight. "An elder. One of the last of my kind. I thought they were gone." The figure stopped a few paces away, leaning on the staff. When it spoke, the voice was old but strong. "You wake what should sleep," it said. "Do you think the stars will welcome you? Do you think the enemy is gone?" Arya stepped forward, almost pleading. "We cannot stay frozen forever. We cannot die alone. Let the gates breathe again." The elder's gaze turned to Ethan. "And you, human, why risk your life for a war that is not yours?" Ethan met the mask without fear. "Because silence is worse than war. Because no one should be left alone in the dark." The elder was quiet for a long time. Then, slowly, he raised the staff and pointed at the gate. "If you wish to open it, you must first light the path. There is one last chamber, one last test, and you will not face it alone." He lowered the staff, and the crystal on top flared. From the snow rose other shapes, not hunters, not enemies, but more of Arya's people. Only a few, but alive. Arya's hand trembled as she reached for them. My kin. The elder nodded. Not all were lost. But now all eyes are on you both. Ethan looked at Arya and saw something change in her face. Hope. Real hope. And with that, they prepared for the final journey. The storm died down, leaving a heavy stillness over the frozen basin. The gate glowed behind them, alive but incomplete, its symbols shifting as though waiting for a command. Ethan stood close to Arya as the elder and the few surviving members of her kind gathered. There were only 4. They looked like her, tall, graceful, skin faintly glowing. But their eyes carried centuries of weight. The elder spoke first. The gate is awake, but blind. The core gives it life, but it needs a guide. The path lies in the heart of this world, where the first war began and ended. There, the key rests. But it is not unguarded. Ethan adjusted his gear. His side still ached from the fight, but he did not care. Then show us the way. Arya gave him a quick look, something soft in her expression. You do not have to do this, Ethan. The key is not meant for your kind. He gave a small laugh. I am already here, Arya. I am not stopping now. The journey began again, this time with company. The elder led, his staff glowing with a faint blue flame that lit their path. They traveled through tunnels cut deep into the planet's crust, past ruins long dead, where frozen statues of warriors stood like silent witnesses. And then, the ground opened. The cavern they entered was like nothing Ethan had seen. It was vast, a cathedral of ice and crystal, lit by veins of light running through the walls. In the center was a structure, an ancient machine shaped like a spiral. At its core, suspended in midair, floated a shard of pure white energy. The key, Arya whispered. But they were not alone. Something moved at the edge of the chamber. A low hum echoed, and then they saw it. Massive, four-legged, with an armored hide like black glass. Its head was crowned with jagged spikes, and its eyes burned as sickly gold. A war sentinel, the elders said. A guardian left from the old war. It saw them and roared, a sound that shook the ice. The sentinel charged. The elder thrust his staff forward, and a wall of blue light sprang up, slowing the beast, but not stopping it. The other survivors fired bursts of energy, the shots sparking off its hide. Arya moved fast, her weapon blazing, but the sentinel was relentless. Ethan knew they could not bring it down with distance. He saw the machine, the spiral that held the key, and he knew what had to be done. Cover me, he shouted. Before anyone could stop him, he sprinted across the chamber. The sentinel turned, its massive claws sweeping through the air. Ethan dove, rolled, and came up running. The ground shook as the beast followed, but every time it lunged, another blast from Arya or the elder slowed it just enough. Reaching the spiral, Ethan climbed. The air vibrated around him, and his hands burned as he gripped the cold metal. The sentinel roared below, smashing the lower steps, but he kept going. Finally, he reached the shard. It was beautiful, pure light, humming like a living thing. Behind him, he heard Arya scream. Ethan jumped. He turned just as the sentinel broke through the last defense. It leapt, jaws wide, claws ready. Ethan grabbed the shard and leapt from the spiral. The beast crashed into the structure, breaking it apart, but not before the elder raised his staff one final time. A burst of energy erupted, throwing the sentinel back and collapsing part of the cavern on top of it. Ethan hit the ground hard, pain exploding in his shoulder. The shard was still clutched in his hand, glowing even brighter. Arya was there in seconds, kneeling beside him. You fool, she said, but her voice shook. Did I get it? He asked with a grin. She looked at the shard and smiled despite herself. You got it. Together they ran as the cavern fell apart, the elder and the others close behind. They reached the surface just as the tunnels collapsed behind them. The shard pulsed in Ethan's hands, as if eager to meet the gate. Back at the basin, they placed it into the core. The moment it touched, the gate roared to life. The ring spun faster than before, the light at its center turning into a swirling pool of blue and silver. Arya stepped closer, her face caught between wonder and grief. This is it. This is home. And beyond it, the unknown. The elder looked at Ethan. You risked everything for a people not your own. The gate is open. Where will you go? Ethan glanced at Arya. Wherever she goes, someone has to make sure she is not alone. For the first time, she did not hide the emotion in her eyes. Then we go together. They stepped toward the gate, the cold wind at their backs. The survivors followed, their faces lit by hope for the first time in centuries. As Ethan and Arya crossed the threshold, the light swallowed them. The last thing Ethan saw before the blue turned to white was Arya's hand gripping his tightly, and the sense that whatever waited on the other side, they would face it as one. And then they were gone. The gate hummed once more, then quieted, waiting for the next travelers who dared to light the stars again.